What up, folks? It's your pal, Coach Vino, and this is the Glass Half Full podcast where we turn setbacks into comebacks. Let's go.
Yo, 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 everybody goes through setbacks, but don't let these setbacks make you take a step back. Step back from the situation, put your brush down, envision the picture you're painting, because everybody goes through setbacks.
All right. Welcome back to the podcast. I am Coach Vino, the people's bartender and your certified coach from the Boogie Down Bronx. So I hope everybody's well since the last time we hung out. I'm doing fantastic and really excited to talk to you guys about today's topic. If you are new to the podcast, welcome. Really glad to have new listeners. You should definitely check out some of my previous content. I've got some great topics that I've touched on in the past. So today I want to talk about living less out of habit and more out of intention. Because look, if you're anything like me, you're a midlife guy, juggling responsibilities, routines, career, family. You know how easy it is to get caught in that cycle, man. You wake up, you do your thing, you go to bed, and, rinse and repeat, right? Day in and day out. But here's the thing. Just because something is familiar doesn't mean that it's right. And just because something is comfortable doesn't mean it's helping you grow. And that's what I want to talk about today, all right? You have to catch yourself going through the motions. You wake up, check your phone. You make your coffee. You go to work. You get home. You scroll through the phone some more. Maybe you have yourself a little drink, something. You binge a show. You go to bed, whatever the case might be. And then you do it all over again. And at some point, this becomes your life. And no one really tells you when the shift happens, right? When that shift happens, when suddenly this is who you are, this is all you are. You don't feel it immediately. But one day you look up and you realize that you've been living on autopilot. Now, don't get me wrong. There are habits that can be good, right? We need routines. We need structure. They help us to get things done and they help keep us grounded. But not all habits are helpful. Okay, some of them, they keep us stuck. And some of them become excuses. And some of them are just ways to avoid being uncomfortable, avoid change or growth. And if we're not careful, we'll blink and we'll realize, oh shit, man, we're just surviving. We're not living. You see, this is why intention is a different type of energy. Intention tells you, I'm not reacting to life. I'm creating it, right? Intention is going to ask you, what do I want this day to feel like? What do I want to be about? Not just get through. When you live with intention, you don't just let the day run you. You're the one that sets the tone. You make decisions that align with the kind of life that you want to build. You don't wake up and just fall into the same pattern that you always do. No, you start asking yourself, is this the life that I want? Is this the life I want to live? And that's a powerful question. That's a tough question. Okay? I'll be honest with you, it is not easy. Especially when you've got a family to feed or a job and career that expects everything from you. And maybe you've got some old wounds that you haven't dealt with yet. And yes, some dreams that you followed that maybe you put on the shelf a long time ago. Living with intention doesn't mean that you got to blow up your life, though. It doesn't mean quitting everything. It means slowing down just enough to check in with yourself and asking yourself, am I showing up the way I want to? Am I still growing or am I coasting? Am I making choices or are my old habits just running the show right now? Because sometimes we think we're choosing, we think we're making decisions, but the reality is all we're really doing is repeating the same old shit. There was a stretch in my life, years honestly, where I started every day with stress. Oh, I remember this. No real morning routine. Just wake up, check emails, react to whatever fire need to be put out. I had no time to sit, no time to think. Just go, go, go. This was when I worked in the event business. And I told myself that this is just how life was. But at some point, I had to ask, is this how I want to live the next 10 years of my life? Because I can keep saying that this is just what it is. Or I can start changing the way that I show up. So I started with something small. For 5 minutes in the morning, I would just breathe. No phone, no noise. I would just me and my thoughts. That's when I started meditating. I just take 5 minutes in the morning. And this didn't fix everything, but it changed something. It changed just the way I started my day. And it reminded me that I still have agency here. That I don't have to live at the mercy of my habits. Okay? That I get to choose. So let me ask you something. When was the last time that you checked in with your habits? And I'm not talking about the obvious ones, like how much you might smoke or drink or work, whatever the case might be. I'm talking about the subtle ones, right? Like, how do you talk to yourself? The way you shut down maybe when you're overwhelmed. How you might avoid hard conversations. How about the way you say that I'm fine, even though you're not? And the way that you have buried so many of your dreams and aspirations because you say, it's too late for this. Those are all habits too. And they shape your life whether you realize it or not. So what you need to do is start asking yourself, how do I live with more intention? How do I start doing that? Well, it's about awareness. Okay? Step 1 is to pause more. Before you respond to anything, before you react to anything, before you do what you've always done, just pause. Right? Give yourself a second to choose instead of defaulting to whatever it is you normally do. Step 2 is to just ask yourself better questions. Instead of asking yourself, what do I have to do today? What you need to do is ask, how do I feel today? What would make today more meaningful for me? What is one thing that I can do today that helps me become what I want to become? Those are the kind of questions you have to ask yourself. And then step 3 is to just start small. Maybe it's journaling for 5 minutes. Maybe it's turning your phone off after 9 p.m. Maybe it's signing up for a class that you've been thinking about for the last 2 years. Okay, the point isn't to overhaul your entire life. The point is to start living with more attention to who you want and who you want to build up to be. Because the reality is that you can't control everything. Life will throw you curveballs. Okay? Responsibilities are not going to go away. But you can control how present you are. You can control what you prioritize. And you can choose to stop letting your habits dictate your future. It's never too late to get intentional, to live with intention. I don't care if you're 30, 40, 55, or 70. If you're feeling stuck, tired, burnt out, this is your reminder. Okay? You don't have to blow up your life. You don't need a new job, a new body, or a new partner to suddenly start living differently, to start living for yourself, to start living with intention. You just need to pay attention. You need to stop moving through life half asleep on autopilot. You need to remember that your time and your energy and your focus matters. Okay? Live less out of habit and live more out of intention. You owe yourself that, my friend. You absolutely do. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. I Hope that you enjoyed today's podcast. If you know someone that might need to hear this, please feel free to send it to them. Remember, sharing is caring. If you or anyone you know would like to work with Coach Vino, you can visit my website at coachvinollc.com. And if you could leave me a review, I would greatly appreciate it. It would help to feed the hungry algorithm. And remember, folks, if nobody else tells you, Coach Vino appreciates you. Cheers.
I find it hard to reveal these thoughts and express what I'm feeling in a hip-hop form. But I was born to succeed, so as long as I breathe, ain't nobody on this earth gonna crush my dreams. Yo, this might be the end of the verse, but this is just the start of a new beginning. Word.